What's going on, my fellow Jedi and Padawans? Welcome back to another Jedi gaming video. Thank you guys so much for coming back to the channel, and if you guys are new, welcome. I hope y'all have been enjoying the content lately. I know we're in that little dry period within the season where we went through all the main story stuff, all the new raid material and challenges, so we're kind of plateauing on that, but we do still got some pretty solid videos planned out coming up here. So we still have some glaive stuff, all the enhanced perks. I still want to do some damage testing on that. Master Valve the Disciple is coming out this week as well, so we'll see how those adept weapons stacked up to the normal weapons, especially with those craftable enhanced perks on them. So we'll see exactly what goes on the rest of the season, and I'm sure the end story bits will be super great leading into next season. Now, in today's video, I want to go over something that is super easy that anybody within the community can do, as long as you can get into the Vow of the Disciple raid, which is a fairly easy beginning part to go through, so we can get some extra loot for you guys, even if you're solo, if you're going in as a 6-man, no matter what. Like I said, Blueberry or you've been playing since D1, this is a nice little grind that you can do on each of your characters each week to get some nice extra loot, as well as those raid mods and the chance at some nice red border weapons for our raid here. Now, what I am talking about is the secret raid chest, the first one within the Vow of the Disciple. Anybody can go and grab this, and you don't even got to continue on with the raid, so it is a super easy chance for you guys to get some raid loot for free. Now, if you guys have done the preservation mission, it is basically just doing that very first part where you're moving the payload around, kind of like in that Overwatch where you stand right next to it and it pushes it for a while you defeat waves upon waves of enemies, and it makes a couple stops throughout its path. Now, this is important because at a certain number of these stops, you have to shoot 3 different crystals, which will allow you to open up a door to actually obtain this secret chest. So when you first load into the raid, going in solo, like I said, or with a team, you don't got to worry about too much. You load in, you got to defeat that big projection of Savathun, just bring in your Galahorn, some rockets, anything like that, a sniper rifle, Witherhoard, and this projection of Savathun is pretty squishy, so you should just be able to melt her, and some doors open up where you can actually move on into the throne world, and you will run into that nice payload that I was talking about before. Has some moving parts on it with some hive looking material, and it kind of looks like the pyramid ships as well. So when you reach this first destination, all you have to do is defeat waves and waves of enemies, and then you'll see these little structures that pop up that are glowing around the area after you defeat those enemies. You just have to go collect all of them and turn them into that payload to get it to move. It is pretty easy. There's about 9 or 10 on each of the stops that you have to turn in, so it does go by pretty quickly. If you're solo, this might take you a little bit longer, but if you're going as a 6-stack, it is super easy to blow through this. Now, you know how many of these stacks you have by in your bottom left hand corner. It'll count up with different buffs, saying with overwhelming knowledge is our highest one, brimming knowledge is another one that we have, so you will be able to tell how many you pick up based on that. Then, once you turn in all of those little light structure crystals to the payload, it'll start to move again, and this is actually when we start shooting our first crystal. So after the payload moves for the first time around its first bend, and we deal with a couple waves of enemies, you can see around this left hand side there will be one of these little cruxes that you have to shoot and destroy. If you go around the edge by that fallen tree, you'll see it, shoot it, and that'll be the first of 3 that we actually have to deal with to open up that wall and find the chest for the extra raid loot. Now, after you wipe the enemies in this first area where you shot that first crux, your payload will continue to move once you bring those crystals back to it, bringing the knowledge to the payload. And you will see you kind of go through these structures that resemble the pyramid once again, where you got to deal with some enemies on your left, and there will be some enemies that are in way of the payload. Not that it'll stop, but it's just the progression of how it moves. When the payload stops for the second time, like I said, there's going to be those enemies that spawn on the left. You just keep going straight through all of those structures that we went through before, and on the left hand side in this little corner is our second crux. Shoot that to destroy it and wipe your enemies, turn in those items to the payload so it'll move again, and we move on to our third area where we stop again and shoot our third crystal, which will finally open up our door for that secret chest. Now, like I said, once we defeat our enemies, just like always, we can shoot our third crystal, which is underneath the bridge when we stop. So you have to jump to the back side of the bridge first and then go underneath it through the right hand side, and there will be a little tunnel to it. You can see right underneath the bridge. Shoot that third crux, boom, it's done, and then you will be able to open up that door where the secret chest is and get that nice free loot. Now, where the chest actually is the next stop, our fourth stop on the payload track. So after you shoot that third crystal and move the payload once again, it'll kind of go over that bridge where you shot the crystal and keep moving on where it'll finally stop. And then on those structures that are in front of you where the enemies spawn, you jump up and go to the right through one of those doors, and that'll be where the chest is. Then all you got to do is collect your chest, and there will be, like I said, if you haven't got the mods from the raid, you will get a mod from this chest, and then as well you have chances at getting armor, weapons, and even those red border weapons, so you will be able to one day hopefully craft those nice raid weapons, because I have personally loved the legendary raid weapons for the Vow of the Disciple, so having a chance at these red border weapons is super key, especially if you don't want to go through the entire raid. Anybody can do this and grab that secret chest, because you do need 5 of those red border weapons to actually craft them. So it does take a while to grind and get all of those. But if you do it each week on each character, that's at least 3 chances just from that first secret chest that we can get within that payload encounter before we actually move on into the pyramid and start the raid with the lootable encounters. So hopefully this helps you guys out. It's a little bit of extra raid loot for those who don't have a squad. If you guys are looking to raid, I do have a Discord y'all can join, and we do like to get some nice LFGs going in there and help some people through the raids. So that is an option, but this is a nice solo grind that you can go through and slap out some free raid loot for the Vow of the Disciple here. So thank you guys so much again for watching. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.